Hello, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this bonus special edition episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick, and I am together today with my very good friend. He is someone that has been the power that runs this program, obviously in the Welsh gamer's absence, as he takes care of personal business. And I know that we've been getting a lot of questions. Is and when will the Welsh gamer return? Well, the answer to the first question is yes. I have confirmation that he will, in fact, be returning to his seat. The only thing I can't answer, and the only one that can answer said question, is Welsh Gamer. When he is ready, he will be back, and he knows that he has family here. So obviously, if you want to reach out to him, you can do it through DM on Twitter, or you can just reach out to him publicly and check out his YouTube channel. And obviously, I believe he has the links there where you can get a message to him. But the Welsh will be making his grand return, hopefully soon. But here we have our bravest man. You know him as the biggest Harry Potter fan this side of Texas. As a matter of fact, we've been talking about Harry Potter all morning long, thanks to a video that I sent to him that he's already watched 1,000 times. Please welcome Zemi the Brave.
The Braveheart.
Yes, the Braveheart.
my inner Scotsman's coming out. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, Boom. I love talking about Xbox, and there has just been a tremendous amount of Xbox news that's just been breaking here recently. And we're not going to talk about it all because Thursday needs to have a show, but we are going to talk about a lot of it. So I cannot wait, man.
Yeah, you know what? First of all, I want to say thank you for being here. Obviously, this is a bonus show, and Zemi was chomping at the bit to get on because obviously last week he was not feeling well. Thankfully, he beat that vicious migraine, and because I'm a sufferer of migraines myself, I completely understand that. Man, you don't want to breathe.
It was a tough one. That was like a 3-day stretch, like migraine, then the next day another migraine, then the next day another migraine. Like, when was it going to end? It was pretty awful. But I'm excited to be back on the show, man.
Well, you know what? It's great to have you here. And obviously, this is a bonus episode. And the reason why we're doing a bonus episode is because, like Zemi said, there has been quite a bit of Xbox news in the last week or so that we have unfortunately been unable to cover. And because Thursday's panel has grown in size while we all handle the world situation, Zemi and I have been fortunate enough to not only be with accompanied by Insipid Ghost, Mr. Bad and Boxy Bear. We have with a panel that big, sometimes we're just unable to get to all the topics. So what that means is good news for you if you're a fan of Zemi and my work, that you're going to get an extra bonus episode, and we're going to be here hopefully for a strong 90 minutes plus. But I cannot guarantee this is going to be a 2-hour show, though I can tell you right now that if you have been really excited by the Lockhart news and by Phil Spencer's recent interview and some of the jabs that Microsoft has been taking at Sony, then you're going to want to tune in this Thursday, because I am currently writing that show. And again, not to toot the own horn, but it's turning out to be one of the best written programs this year. And I say that about a lot of the shows recently because, quite frankly, not only do they get a tremendous amount of traction in the community, which of course equates to views, shares, and likes, but the stuff we're talking about gets everyone excited because this year is going to be Xbox's year. And of course, we are going to be talking about the July event that apparently has a date, and we're gonna break that down this Thursday. But you know what? We still have a show to do today. And of course, today is Tuesday, but I want to open up the show with something a little bit different. Now, I'm going to be doing a 10-minute review of Rigid Force Redux. Now, this was developed by Com8 Com1 and published by Head Up. Now, it is a small indie title. It's available currently for the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch platforms for $20. And you want to ask I'm sure there's going to be people like, what is that game? What is he talking about? What is Rigid Force Redux? Well, it is by far one of the best side-scrolling shooters I've played in the last 5 years. I'm an old school cat. Many people know that. And if there's one genre that still brings a huge smile to my face. It is the side-scrolling shooter. And back in the days, obviously when gaming was still finding a way to have 32 and 16 bits on the screen, mega classics like R-Type and Blazing Lasers from Hudson, Thunder Force 4 and Raiden 2, Radiant Silvergun and Icaraga from Treasure, and Gradius, and of course Contra from Konami. And of course, not to be left out of the conversation is Capcom's UN Squadron and 1942 or XX, take your choice. And thanks to the wizards at Com8 Com1 and the generous public relations team at Head Up, I was given the amazing opportunity to review Rigid Force Redux. And I'll say this. It is a classic shooter reborn on modern consoles, and it's a must-have. Definitely, if you are a fan of the genre, and I highly recommend you check it out. Now, look, I'll say this. This is definitely by far one of my top picks for 2020, and that is really saying something. You know what? This game is the type of title that can be played in both long and short game sessions, and it definitely has an old school feel with new graphics that are certainly current. I'm just gonna break down some of the key features for Rigid Force Redux. And obviously, like I said in the opening, it's a classic side-scrolling shoot-'em-up action with 3D modern graphics. But here's the thing, folks. It's running at a smooth 60 FPS from start to finish. It has a ton of unique weapons and power-ups inspired by genre classics like R-Type, like Gradius, like 1942. And it has a tremendous amount of variety when it comes to the enemies. And the challenging mid and end bosses are bullet hell revealed. And I gotta tell you, man, if you like these kind of games, if you like those bullet hell type of games and you haven't played one in a long time, this one is something you should definitely look. I'm gonna add the trailer to, of course, the show notes once the show loads up live, so you can watch the video yourself and you can just take a look. And obviously, I only got the game. I'm not getting any extra, back end money from the company, but I am a huge fan of side-scrolling shooters, and I definitely want people that are in the same, I guess, opinion or minded self like me, and you are old school, this might be something you want to check out. Now, of course, in addition to everything I just said, there's an arcade and boss rush mode, which is standard fare for side-scrolling shooters. It has a huge range of difficulty when it comes to the levels, from beginners all the way up to masters. The UI and the visuals are incredible, and it has brand new characters designed by the manga artist known as Damurushi. Now, of course, there are 40 achievements to unlock. They have leaderboards that are worldwide, and there has an original soundtrack by Dreamtime featuring Michael Chait. And listen, I'm going to say this. Again, this was meant to be a small review. I hope that if people value my opinion when it comes to games, that they check this out. I will say this, and I do stake my my pole in the ground, so to speak. I would never ask you to buy something that I wouldn't play myself. And if you do like side-scrolling shooters, it is definitely something worth checking out. For me, the review goes as follows. It is a classic shooter reborn. It is something that is could go down, in my personal opinion, and be up there with the greats, like, of course, Radiant Silvergun and the classics R-Type and Gradius. But it has a new school feel with an old school way of controlling. And I give it a 9.0 out of 10. That's right, a 9 out of 10. That's how much I've enjoyed it. And the achievements are extremely friendly, but they do make you work for some of them. And I'm going to tell you this, it is absolutely worth your time. So, Zemi, listen, I've talked enough. Let's get into topic number 1.
Let's do it.
When talking about the next gen, folks, we as gamers will consider several things before upgrading. And power has been and always will be the most important for most. And what the graphical advancements will come in tow and what makes this new console better than the one you currently own is why we are willing to spend the money. Well, for many, The price of the new machines will be a huge contributing factor in 2020, and it also may present itself as an obstacle for some who have directly been impacted by the financial trials of COVID-19. And on Primetime Gaming last night, we talked about the Game Labs interview with Phil Spencer. We actually spoke about one particular part. In fact, the one where I felt like Phil Spencer basically slapped Sony across the face in the most nicest and polite way possible. But that's not what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about the human side of Phil Spencer, and something that easily shines through in every interview that he does. And it's not only what he said, but it's how he filled it with compassion, understanding, and thoughtfulness. And of course, ultimately proves that Phil, even though he's the head of a mega corporation, is a gamer and cares about this community in a way that some others in his position don't show. So listen, the Xbox All Access. We've heard about this project before. It's something that was tested. It did well for Microsoft, and it's going to be, according to Phil Spencer, critical to both the launch of the Series X as well as the overall generation. Now, here are some quotes from Phil Spencer that makes me smile to see his human side come forth, and also talk about the community like we're friends. And I love that about Phil. And this is what he had to say. The response that we've seen where we've tested All Access has been great. But as you said, it's been limited in terms of the market. So you are going to see a much broader market and retailer support for All Access. It matches a model that consumers use for many other devices they buy. And if you have services attached to those devices that people enjoy and love, it just becomes an easier way to bring a great product to consumers. And he says this. Let me see another quote from Phil. We should also, and again, folks, let me just stop myself there for a second. This is where I have to say, you don't hear other super high positioned people in the industry talking like this. And look, this is the final point, and then I'm going to get Zemi's opinion on this. He says this, and this is I quote from Phil Spencer. We should also understand that the global economic situation we are going to see this year, we're seeing it today. And I think having more pricing options for consumers is frankly just a thoughtful thing for us as an industry to think about. Now, just think about the words. Okay, it's simplistic in his delivery, but it's the weight and substance of his words that give me goosebumps, because he's bringing forth the human element and understanding that, yes, Microsoft is a business. Microsoft wants to make money. Microsoft wants your money. He wants Zemi's money, and he wants my money. But at the same time, he understands that we as a community have been affected in more ways than we are willing to admit publicly, and some worse than others. And to know that they're going to be bringing this kind of this kind of a program where you can, instead, if you don't have $500 to invest, and you don't have the money for Game Pass, you don't have the money for Xbox Live, and this Xbox All Access is going to be able to deliver it to you. You're going to pay it off in time, and it's only going to cost you anywhere between $40 and $60 per month, as opposed to coming out with the $500 that you may or may not have. So Zemi, obviously this is a I guess you could call it a ground ball for today's show, but one I think is worthy of discussion. When you hear Phil Spencer talking about this program and putting the community first in regards to the world economic situation that we're dealing with, what does that say about Microsoft, but more importantly, Phil Spencer?
Well, I definitely really like the wording that Phil uses here. I think that that's one of his strongest points, and has been one of his strongest points in the last couple of months to maybe a year now, is just how he brings that human element to whatever he's talking about, and how he implements it, and how into gaming and how it affects us, right? He doesn't just say, hey, we're going to double down on, Xbox All Access, bringing it to more markets. He says, we're going to do that, but this is why we're going to do that. And he adds that little human touch that, that gives the effect that he does actually care about the community of gamers that his company has built throughout the years, right? So I think that that's definitely one of his strongest elements. And one thing that I really like about this topic, probably maybe a little bit more than the other topics that we're going to be talking about, which those are fantastic as well, is that this topic really kind of floats around the idea that I've been pushing for a very long time, and that is price is king, right? Whenever we go and buy these new consoles, later on this year, the games are a very important factor. The power is absolutely an important, factor. The controller preferences, where our friends play, where our digital library is, all of that is very, very important. But I think, in my opinion, what I think is the most important thing is the price. And that's the way that it was before the current world situation. But even now, with the current world situation, with people out of work, on unemployment, unable to even get unemployment, facing, being evicted from their homes because they don't have the money to pay for their rent, because they don't have a job right now, because of, the very, very tough situation that everyone's in. I think price going into this next generation is going to play a huge role for a lot of consumers. And so to not only just say, hey, Xbox All Access, this amazing, program that we started a few years ago, we're, not only are we going to keep that program, but we're going to expand it, and we're going to make it available at more stores and in more markets, I think is absolutely just fantastic. And this decision, I think, is going to definitely 100%, like you said, Xbox is a business. They're about making money, and it's going to help them tremendously, but it's also going to help a lot of consumers who otherwise, might have not been able to get a console this year. A lot of parents that may not be able to buy, two Xboxes like they planned, or, whatever it may be, two consoles as they planned. Well, maybe they can at least get one using the Xbox All Access program, which I think is absolutely amazing. So I think that that's, the strongest point of this is just that price is going to play a huge deal going into this next generation. And Xbox is just there all the way with the value proposition, much more than just Xbox All Access, which absolutely, that's a huge thing. And I love that they're expanding it, but they're also, what is rumored going to be offering two SKUs, a cheaper alternative going into the next generation. Plus they have Game Pass, which is huge value, so as it stands just right now with Game Pass, there's no better value for gaming right now. Just all of this, put together, from Game Pass to two SKUs to All Access to whatever it may be, I think is going to lead a lot of consumers this year, this holiday, looking at Xbox as their, console alternative.
Well, I mean, listen, there is, listen, without sounding like a rabid fanboy, which of course the Xbox is my go-to console. I mean, I'm very transparent about that. There is a lot to be excited about in the gaming aspect, but there's one particular quote that I overshot that I want to read, and it literally goes exactly with what you said. And this is the human Phil. This is the guy this is the nice guy Phil that a lot of people in the industry poo-poo, right? They don't like the nice guy Phil. They've called for his job. I say you're an idiot. If you've called for Phil Spencer's job for being a good guy, then you're a scumbag. And I'll be the first one to stamp that on your forehead. Not a problem. This is what he says. With unemployment rates soaring due to COVID-19 pandemic, there may also be fewer people with the financial freedom to buy a console, games, and accessories in their traditional manner, and may need a quote-unquote more affordable way into next generation. Now, obviously, I'm mad that I missed that quote, because obviously that would have gone with everything that you said. But I'm glad I found it at the last minute. Again, it's that. This is coming from an executive that has more zeros in his paycheck then I could probably count on on both hands. And at the end of the day, he's not a corporate shill. He's a human being that understands that there is more. Gaming is important, but at the same time, people come first. People and their circumstances matter.
Well, and it's almost like he understands his fan base a little bit better than the other companies do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because he's actually a part of that fan base. He plays Xbox games. He's a gamer, you know, and you know, it's almost like in a way that he's looking out for his community in a way.
Yes. You know what? It's genius, and it's also compassionate rolled into one very tasty piece of bubblegum, right? Because obviously, from the compassion side of things, he's looking at it from, well, we have to find a way to allow people, if they choose to. See, that's the big thing. If Phil is not telling you to go buy a Series X.
No.
Phil is not telling you to go buy a Series S. Phil is telling you, play the games where you want to play them. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have a rig and a monster PC, like many people in this community, the 230 plus people already watching, then you could potentially play it there. If you're someone who currently hasn't done an Xbox One X, an S, or even the fatback OG, even though you're not going to get the same frame rates, you're not going to get the same graphic prowess that you would get on the new console, you're still going to be able to play these games, and they're all going into Game Pass.
And that's the ingenious part about it. You know, in a way, you know, it just the way that Microsoft has structured Xbox, you know, just it's almost like they built it for this type of environment that they're going into, right? Obviously, nobody knew of the current world events were going to happen. Nobody, you know, really predicted that. Definitely in 2016, whenever Xbox was, you know, restructuring, you know, the company and they were building what we now know Xbox to be today, they didn't know that this was going to happen, but it just kind of proves to, you know, to the success of their new ideology and where they're leading the company that, I mean, it just works so beautifully. It's almost like they did know that it was happening, but obviously there's no way that they did, you know, right. And there's nothing more consumer friendly than what they're doing right now, allowing consumers to play all of, you know, any of the new games on the old hardware, or if they want to upgrade, offering multiple avenues to upgrade, you know, at different levels of affordability and different ways to purchase it, whether you want to buy it on credit with 0% interest with all access, or you want to go out and just drop maybe $250, $300, however much Lockhart's going to cost, you know, you can. And that's really, I think, like the key thing that's, you know, differentiating Xbox from their competition is just the choice, giving gamers the choice, you know, and acknowledging that, you know, we're living in very trying times where, you know, you may not know if you're going to be able to pay rent next month or whatever. But they're acknowledging that, and they're also, you know, trying to make it as easy for consumers as possible to get this next gen console if they want it.
Yeah, and see right there, it's what you said at the end that's really key. Again, Phil doesn't care where you play. Mm-hmm. He just wants you to play. But Microsoft and him leading the charge are going to give you an option that if you, as a gamer, as an Xbox gamer, or a potential PlayStation gamer who might want to now dip his or her toe into the Xbox nation because of the price arrangement, you might be, someone may be sitting on the fence. Someone might have been an Xbox 360 fan, right? And obviously, you know, Microsoft, we can go back to 2013. We're not going to, but we're going to say they had some missteps, and we'll call it square. And unfortunately, because of said missteps, several thousands, potentially millions of Xbox 360 gamers who loved that console, who loved what Microsoft brought to the table, went to Sony because Sony was $100 cheaper. Again, price being key, or being king, like you like to say, Zemi, mm-hmm. and power and price. And you know what? You cannot argue that equation. But now Now maybe they want to come back. Maybe they're taking a look at what Microsoft is doing. Well, Microsoft has 15 first party studios, but potentially more. We don't know if the WB thing went through. I think it did. I'm staking it on that. You can, again. I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong, but I'm still banking on both Rocksteady and NetherRealm becoming first party studios. I'm really banking on that. And the reason why I say such a thing is because what happened with WB and AT&T wanting to get rid of it is a once in a lifetime deal that'll never, you could live 100 years from this date and you will never in your gamer's life ever see anything quite like it. 4 billion may sound like a lot for the common folk like us, but from a business perspective, and Microsoft being the $1.4 trillion company, they can afford to take a risk because they know that they're going to be able to dump all of these big AAA titles into Game Pass day and date, and people are going to line up around the corner to sign up. And maybe they spend the money up front and it takes 5 years. Maybe it takes 10 years to make the money back, but they will make the money back tenfold. So getting back to Phil Spencer, getting back to the human side that was displayed during this article, I have to say bravo, Phil. And I think that if you weren't a fan of Microsoft, this is the kind of interview that makes you a fan of Microsoft, because you know that they have the people's interest first, the gamers and this community first. That is what makes Microsoft, at least my company that I back. And that's why I'm proud to have this show, proud to work with you, and proud to work and have over 250 people in this chat. And I have to do a real quick shout out. First of all, Inmustain Gamer. The reason why I bring this gentleman up is because he is all the way from Uganda, East Africa. Now, I'm going to say this. Just saying that has given me goosebumps, because you have to understand, folks, I'm not even at 5,000 subs. Will I get there by the end of the summer? Cross my fingers. I believe I will. But to have that kind of a reach, and to have met so many amazing people from around the world, to hear this show is as humbling as you could possibly imagine. I never thought that I'd find an audience that enjoys what I talk about, and it is honestly a tremendous blessing to have this many people already here. But real quick, J Mo Money, he says something. First of all, he drops a $2 super chat, and I want to thank you for being here, but I also want to thank you for your generosity. But it's what he says that brings a smile to my face. He says all access is Phil's 6 demon bag, Jack Burton style. And yes, that is from one of my favorite films of all time, Big Trouble in Little China. And yes, that brings a huge smile to my face. And Jesse Darby's here. First of all, Jesse, thank you for being here, but also thank you for your generosity. He drops a $2 super chat, says, you guys have a good show. Boom. Well, thank you, dude. Super appreciate the compliment. But let's move on to the, I think, lead topic of today's show. Should get everybody super excited. Now, I just want to throw this out there. This is a topic that is one of those original written ones where I see a headline, I read it, I take it, I ponder it, I sit up after midnight, and I write these. I wrote this particular one because, quite frankly, I'm a huge fan of these games, and I think everybody in this chat, everybody that will check out the show after the live stream, will want to talk about this, potentially will agree that they'd like to see all of these 3 games make a comeback. Now, look, in recent days, the internet has been set on fire with 3 huge Xbox or OG Xbox franchises that has everyone excited to the point of an uproar, and for good reason. And of course, the 3 titles in question are Fable Awakenings. Now, we know Fable is coming. We know Playground Games is doing it. And we know for a fact, thanks to, of course, the sleuths of the internet, that they re-engineered or cross-engineered the way to find out that Microsoft actually had applied for the Twitter account, where they were able to get the actual Microsoft.com as well as Fable something. It has an F, and the people, again, the sleuths, came up with either Fable Awakenings or Fable reawakenings. Now, 2 days later, Perfect Dark has once again been in the talk or on the lips of many in this community. And that also retained, of course, a Twitter account. And quick to answer said Twitter account was Aaron Greenberg, who came out immediately and said, no, there's nothing to get excited about right now. That's something that we just do to keep the IP alive and whatever. And I'm going to tell you this. I love Aaron. I think Aaron is great. I could not see a Microsoft without Aaron Greenberg for many reasons. But Aaron, I think the jig is up. I think Perfect Dark is out of the bag. And you know what? It's okay, because I'm going to be super stoked in July to see it, because it's going to be an entirely different Joanna Dark. But it's the third title. It's the third title that you and me, Zemi, we talked about this over a year ago. You saw the documentation from Reddit. Now, again, folks, Reddit is kind of like I don't want to say a garbage pail, but it's kind of like a garbage pail.
Yeah, pretty much.
You put your hand in there. You put your hand in there, and every now and again, you're going to pull out a banana. But for the most part, you pull out cans and old food, and you can't eat cans and old food, but you can eat a banana. And I'm going to equate this, and you'll never hear this on any other show, Ninja Gaiden as a banana that I pulled from the Reddit garbage pail. Now, obviously, about a year ago, we talked about on this show that I had heard or I had read on Reddit that Microsoft was working exclusively with Team Ninja, who holds the IP for Ninja Gaiden. And Ninja Gaiden was going to be developed by, of course, its original, which is Team Ninja. And Microsoft would be funding this. Basically the same way that Capcom was funded by Sony for Street Fighter V. The same way Nintendo funded the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Again, a game that would never have been made, either of them, if the company, both Nintendo and Sony, got involved and put their money where their mouth is. And this is what I think has happened. Now, also, the Ninja Gaiden got a Twitter account. Now, that has been clarified as being just, I guess, a hoax. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that I think Ninja Gaiden is going to come back in a big way. As a matter of fact, Ninja Gaiden, if you remember, was exclusive for quite some time on the OG Xbox. As a matter of fact, let's take a trip, Zami, down down Speculation Town. Now, that's a place I like to hang out because you know what? We can say things that are off the wall, backwards crazy, and we really can't be held accountable because we know we're strolling in Speculation Town. And I want to talk about Ninja Gaiden. Now, Ninja Gaiden was critically acclaimed exclusive for the OG Xbox, and it was released in 2004 and is considered by many, including myself, to be the groundwork title to the ultra-popular Souls series. That's right. This game broke your balls in a way that made you break controllers. The same way most people throw their controllers playing Bloodborne and the Souls games. Now, Ninja Gaiden Black, which was even harder, if you could believe it, came out in 2005. And then finally, in 2007, Ninja Gaiden was ported over to the PlayStation 3 as Ninja Gaiden Sigma with some extra content and some small graphical improvements. And obviously, they've had a total of 3 Ninja Gaidens. Now, Ninja Gaiden 2 for 2008 for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 is a masterpiece. As a matter of fact, if you look at Ninja Gaiden 2 right now on the current Xbox, because it's backwards compatible, it will melt your eyeballs. It looks that good. And of course, it's out, but we don't really talk about it. Ninja Gaiden 3 was an abomination. And every Ninja Gaiden after that has been, let's just say, a trash panda. And as great as Fable Awakenings and Perfect Dark are going to be when they're announced at the July showcase, I really wanted to discuss the Ninja Gaiden title, of course, Ryu Hayabusa. And I want to say that I think that not only does this series deserve to come back, but it has a place currently because of its over the top difficulty and large bosses, very similar to what a lot of people herald as one of the best games since sliced bread, and that's Bloodborne and the Soul series. So, Zemi, let's talk Ninja Gaiden for a second. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, this is, take this with a grain of salt. This is just an old man with a big dream. Hopefully, that dream comes true. But when you talk about Ninja Gaiden, do you believe the rumor from a year ago? And more importantly, in your humble opinion, does Ryu Hayabusa and the Ninja Gaiden franchise deserve a place not only in current times, but as an Xbox Series X exclusive?
Well, I guess to start off, I don't know if I 100% believe the rumors or not. Rumors are a tricky thing. I would like to believe the rumors. Does that make any sense? But
Sure.
I don't know. Now I will say that Twitter, like the little Twitter accounts that were made for Fable, Perfect Dark, and Ninja Gaiden, like those just, I don't know. There's something off about that. Aaron, his explanation just didn't really, fix it up
seemed
enough
like
for
he
me.
was trying to walk it back a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like he was maybe trying to save, like the surprise for July, right? But with that being said, I will say this, ultimately, and this I don't think is speculation, right? That we are currently living in a world where we really love remasters and remakes, and we really love bringing back old franchises, right?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think that is speculation to say that.
Right.
And I think that we have also in the last couple of years seen a lot of interest from both PlayStation and Xbox in bringing back some old familiar IPs. And so, with that being said, I would not be shocked in the least bit to see something happen with this franchise and, happen in the upcoming year. And I think that it makes a lot of sense for Xbox to have interest in it for the sole reason that, they're looking to, make a push into the Asian market, and an IP like this would definitely most certainly help them do that. Right. So with all of that said, I could definitely see this game happening. I don't know the likelihood, but to me it does make sense if you look at it. I guess the way that I'm looking at it, I think it definitely makes sense to see this game could happen. I think that Microsoft has some interest in potentially making it happen. And, like I said, we are living in a world where we want to see a lot of these old games come back. We're seeing a lot of remasters, a lot of remakes of a lot of old titles. As far as like Perfect Dark and Fable, like that you opened up, I mean, we know Fable is definitely happening.
Yes.
We have very, very strong reason to believe that Perfect Dark is being developed by a Microsoft studio right now. And so, with the old rumor that did happen on Reddit a while ago, and with, the whole Twitter, thing that just happened a few days ago, I would say if I was going to label it, 0's not going to happen. 10 it's for sure going to happen. I would probably be likely to put it at maybe a 6.5 or a 7.
Okay, that's what, and see, that's the thing. You bring up the word remaster,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy because if they wanted to take a non-expensive way of bringing back Ninja Gaiden, now again, look at the date, folks. The Ninja Gaiden 1, right, was released in 2004, over 16 years ago, right? And then they saw the Ninja Gaiden Black was released 1 year later. It was basically an updated version. It was made more difficult. It had added, graphical, instances. They upped the ante a little bit. Of course, I bought both. Like, why wouldn't you? And it would be fantastic to see them go, because they have the template. Remember, they have two Ninja Gaiden 1 games. They have Ninja Gaiden 1 and Ninja Gaiden Black. They're literally the same games, just with some added stuff in one that the other original didn't have. And obviously, they could give it the Resident Evil 2/3, coat of paint. And they could say, well, listen, it's not a new game per se, but we're bringing it back and it's taking advantage of Series X, and it's an exclusive, and people are going to go crazy because again, it's a classic series. It's a series that obviously spawned what everyone knows as, of course, the Souls market. The difficulty in Ninja Gaiden was ridiculous. And you know what, and you know what, I actually enjoyed it at the difficulty. I don't know why I don't enjoy the Souls games like I did Ninja Gaiden. I guess it's the character and the overall, universe. Maybe the Souls just don't resonate with me, but Ninja Gaiden does. And it would be somewhat of an inexpensive way than building a brand new game, a AAA game from the ground up, where they can just use the template that they currently have and just add 2020, 2021 graphics. I mean, does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, what did you think of my idea of, how it could possibly pair with Xbox pushing into the Asian market?
You know what? I actually do like that. I think that's smart. I think it's forward thinking, and I think that's exactly what Microsoft wants to do, because obviously, if you're going to, and that goes to, we've been hearing, and again, there was a list of the July show that we're going to talk about on Thursday. Now that list has been debunked by a good friend of the show. You know him as Tim Dog. Tim Dog knows his shit, and he also knows plenty of people in Microsoft, and he said that list was fake. But with that said, there was one game that has been at the tip of many people's tongues in this community, and they've been asking for a remaster of sorts, and that's Lost Odyssey, that RPG from the 360 era that was, I think it was Mistwalker, if I'm not mistaken, actually did that. I mean, I could be wrong. It could have been Blue Dragon that Mistwalker did, but if I'm not mistaken, it was Mistwalker, and that talked about a full-on remaster. Like they went back in and they redid the whole game. Mm-hmm. And when you hear Lost Odyssey making the talks, and now you hear Ninja Gaiden, that goes right in with what you're saying. Now, obviously, Microsoft is not going to be bashing down the doors to sell you a console in Japan or Korea. No. What they're going to sell you on is Xbox Game Pass, which was just made available in Japan. And apparently, both Japan and Korea is lighting up the charts when it comes to, of course, what? Project xCloud, because that has become, back in the days when I was importing everything, the Dreamcast and the Sega Saturn and the Super Famicom, those days, it was console led. People lined up around the corner for 2, 3 days, 4 days at a time to get their hands on the newest console. Well, that market has severely changed over the last 10 and 15, even 20 years, where it's a mobile market. And what does Microsoft have that Sony doesn't, that Nintendo has, but not really, is they have Project xCloud. And of course, going exactly with what Zemi said here makes a lot of sense. How does Microsoft, the dreaded American company, get the Asian market to accept their wares? Well, they've done it already 2 times, right? You have Phantasy Star Online 2, which is tremendous in Japan. Right. And what's big? What's huge in Korea? Well, that would be Crossfire X. 2 games that are going to go directly free to play. Right. They're going directly to Project xCloud, and it's going to get people playing. Now, what keeps people playing? Well, Lost Odyssey Remake, which was a huge seller in Japan, even though the console didn't sell well. And also Ninja Gaiden, a classic series that will definitely get people to sign up to your digital platform in the form of either Project xCloud or, of course, Game Pass Ultimate. So, Zemi, when you hear potential, again, folks, this is just all speculation town, right? We're just hanging out there, right? It's a good place to hang out, but you don't want to live there. When you hear Crossfire X, when you hear Phantasy Star Online 2, when you hear Ninja Gaiden, when you hear the potential of the rumored Lost Odyssey remake, that sounds like a recipe for success. Why don't you run with that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely intentional. You like what you were saying. How do you get people to stay? Right? You gave people that live in South Korea Crossfire X. That is a online multiplayer shooter. Right? Has a lot of replayability. In Japan, you have Fantasy Star Online 2. Massive MMO, lot of it's online, a lot of replayability, right? But people are only going to play those for so long. So how do you continue that by releasing other games that's going to have an interest for them, right? I love Halo. Halo's a very is a beloved game by a lot of people, but it's very popular here in the United States and in Europe and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to be tremendously popular over in Japan. Maybe it will be. Hopefully it is. I mean, Halo's great. I hope everyone loves Halo. But realistically, people from different cultures and different backgrounds have different loves of games. I love RPGs. Boom, you love the side-scrolling shooters, right?
Yes.
We all have different loves of gaming because we all come from different backgrounds. Same thing over in Japan, same thing in Korea. So I think Ninja Gaiden and Lost Odyssey, those would be two very, very strong picks for Xbox to put into Game Pass to drive even more sales in that market. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, obviously, we can only hang out in Speculation Town before we start to become
Speculation Lane. Have you ever went to Speculation Lane?
No, not yet. But hold on just a second.
Anyway, guys in the chat, Speculation Lane, 100% amazing. I mean, it's on the corner of Elder Scrolls 6 and the new Harry Potter RPG. I stay there quite frequently. Yeah, it's really good. Really good.
Sorry about that, Zemi. I had to pull a Greg Miller. Someone rang the bell. Obviously, this is a live time. This is a live podcast, so sometimes these things happen. But you know what? What I would like to do is potentially, of course, move on to the next topic, because obviously there is still a lot to get to. We have a lot of show, and we want to keep this party rolling. But before I do, let me catch up on some of these very generous super chats from the amazing people in this outstanding community. First of all, D Rob drops a very generous $5 super chat. And hey, Rob, I want to thank you for being here, my brother. But more importantly, thank you for your generosity. He says Project X Cloud, high value to consumers when it launches. Oh, yes. And I am currently using the Razer Kishi. And I mention that at least once every show simply because I want Razer to be a sponsor of this program so I can make some big loot. No, all jokes aside, I bought it because someone suggested it. And I got to tell you, I've been playing xCloud using the controller and the phone. I don't like using it like that. It's very heavy. Especially because obviously using a controller, you have the little the device that holds your cell phone. It works fine. It's just a little heavy. So I bought the Kishi, and I gotta tell you, folks, best $80 I ever spent, especially if you intend to game on the go, or like say, for instance, you are playing something on your Xbox and you want to, you have to go somewhere. You're going to be on an airplane, you're going to be on a train ride, you're at the doctor's office, you're sitting in traffic, or you're waiting for someone to come out of work or something. It's like holding. It is basically a Switch Xbox. The controller feels so good in your hand. Again,
boom. One question: is it like holding the hand of Phil Spencer?
I've only done that once, so I can attest that yes, it's like holding Phil's hand. So yes, I would say that if you want to hold Phil's hand, you can definitely get the Kishi. It's only $80. You can get it from Razer.com directly. I think if you sign up for their email, you can get a $10 coupon off of it, which is pretty cool. And again, folks, they're not a sponsor. Again, maybe one day, Mr. Boomstick will get as big as I want to be, and I'll get that big sponsor. But next up is Sean Livingston. First of all, Sean, thanks for being here, but also thank you for your generosity. He drops a $2 super chat and says this: boom, it is my window, and I can't stand the rain. And Victor Alistine, Victor, thank you for being here. But also thank you for your $5 super chat. He says Ninja Gaiden would be nice, but the original team left years ago, and the head ninja lectures in Italy promising he will debut something soon. Yes, the original Itagaki, who was the original director at, of course, that developer left years ago. He was ousted, very, very similar to what happened with Kojima. And he's no longer there, and he actually has his own studio in Italy, which will be, of course, like Victor was saying, will be showing something off soon. Hopefully, it is a spiritual successor to Ninja Gaiden, but of course, I would still like a remaster or, of course, a brand new Ninja Gaiden. But I wanna bring up a topic that, Zemi, I didn't send you this because this was actually supposed to be spoken about last night, but because we had such a massive panel, I was going to save for Thursday. But you know what? I want to bring it up now, and
let's do it.
Let's get into, of course, this. Now, one of the biggest things going into Microsoft's next gen console is the power narrative. And we know for an absolute fact that they own that piece of property. No matter what people try to tell you about a faster SSD, the PlayStation 5 is an inferior console. Not saying it's not a great console, but it's an inferior console. But in recent weeks, Zemi, Microsoft has not been shy about boasting that backwards compatibility is something that they have a huge advantage over Sony besides the power narrative. And what's even more impressive is the new badge or logo that will accompany all of their games. And it's, you've seen it. It's a big, bright green logo that says optimized for Series X. And this is a powerful yet simplistic logo that tells consumers all he or she needs to know when deciding where to play. Enter title here. And thanks to a story that I pulled from Xbox Wire, who has been dropping bombs in the last couple of months, they break down what actually it means to be optimized for Series X. Now, this was written, of course, by Jason Ronald, and he is one of the lead devs on the Xbox Series X, and I'm assuming the Xbox Series S. And here is what some of the quotes I pulled from the article had to say. Here at Xbox, we're building the future of gaming by putting players first, ensuring that you are at the center and in control of your gaming experience. Whether you're exploring an expansive library of Xbox Game Pass titles with more than 10 million of your fellow gamers, or talking your gaming on the go with Project xCloud, it's clear that the future of gaming is brighter than ever. Optimized for the Xbox Series X is an indicator for games that take full advantage of the power of the Xbox Series X. And since Xbox Series X offers developers unparalleled power and speed, this empowers them to create the experience they want and embrace a range of features and capabilities based on what is best for the individual said title. When you hear a game has been optimized for the Xbox Series X, you'll know that that developer has either natively designed or fully rebuilt their game to take full advantage of the unique capabilities of our most powerful console ever created. Games featuring the optimized for Xbox Series X badge can also showcase anything from virtually eliminating load times via the Xbox Velocity architecture, heightened visuals, and hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing powered by our custom next generation GPU, and steadier and more steadier using the frame rates up to 120 frames per second. Now look, Zemi, this article goes on for as long as my arm is, and I'm a pretty big dude. And I could read here all day, and I'm sure that everybody, the near 300 people here, would enjoy hearing it. But I will add this to the show notes, so if you want to read this latest Xbox Wire article, you can. But Zemi, when you hear this isn't just tech talk. This is telling you as a consumer that when you decide, or if you decide to upgrade to the Xbox Series X or even the Xbox Series S, your games are going to look, run, play, and act better than any other place to play. And I think that this badge that they created is powerful. And I said, yes, simplistic. It also tells the consumer that this is the best place to play. What are your thoughts on the optimized for Xbox Series X badge that has been really setting the community on fire with excitement?
Well, let me just start off by saying, like, what you like the quotes that you just read from Jason Ronald, I believe.
Yes.
You said was his name. Literally sounded like a battle speech. Like we were beating the drum, getting ready to go fight the good fight. You know.
I love it. I love it.
Like it was great. But you know, I will say this, right? There are some people that believe that whenever we go and buy a new console, that new console is only, repeat, only for new games, and that you should not play old games on it, right? There are people in this world that believe that. And I'm not going to say that those people are wrong, but I am going to say I heavily disagree. Backwards compatibility and, you know, having the ability to optimize and enhance old versions of games sounds amazing to me, right? I mean, I, like you, Boom, have spent thousands of dollars on my game library, right? And just because I'm going and buying a new piece of hardware doesn't mean that I want to sacrifice that $1,000 worth of games. And I most certainly do not want to have to rebuy those games that I've already purchased before, regardless of the amount that I'm paying for it, right? You know, I don't want to rebuy Halo 5 for $60, $70, or not. Why did I say 70? That makes no sense. $40, right? I don't want to rebuy my old games. And in all honesty, you know, all of the games that are in my library right now, probably 95% of them, I probably won't play. But for that 5% that I will play, I still want access to it because I paid for it, right? And so backwards compatibility to me personally is an absolutely huge thing, you know, going into this next generation. I want to bring all the games that I purchased and all the games I got for free with Games with the Gold to my new Xbox. And the fact that Xbox is going to allow me to do that is huge and is amazing, and is something I really wish that their competition, PlayStation, would adopt, right? And it does seem like they are slowly looking to shift that way, which I think is really, really good. But still kind of disappointing, you know, their current policy on it as of, you know, right now. But what's even more than allowing backwards compatibility, which is a huge thing, which, I mean, which in my opinion, I don't even think it really should be a huge thing, right? I think it should just be the thing that everyone expects. But anyway, huge thing. But more than that is enhancing certain titles, right? I just recently, to give an example, I just recently purchased Mafia the Trilogy, like edition, and I am absolutely just falling in love with that game. I love everything about it, and it's just fantastic. But whenever I was playing it on my Xbox One console, which is like the original console, it's like the very first one that ever came out, I was encountering a lot of frame drops. I mean, the game still looked good, but I was encountering a lot of frame drops. There were some blurry textures and stuff like that. And so because of Xbox's policy, whenever I go and buy my Series X console, I will go back and replay that game because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm going to get, you know, 60, 120 frames. I'm going to get those perfect textures. Everything's going to look amazing because of what Xbox is doing. And for that reason, I 110% love Xbox's policy on backwards compatibility and you know, enhancing games. You know, I played Gears of War 5 on console, and the game looks absolutely amazing on there. But once again, I do have an older Xbox, and then I decided to play Gears 5 on my PC, which, you know, isn't any amazing rig, but it just looks so much more better. It just looks so good on my PC compared to my Xbox right now. So you know, and Gears 5 is going to be one of those games that will be enhanced. Right. And so I cannot wait to see the changes from all these other games that we're going to see, whether, you know, from Halo 5. I really cannot wait to see how these older games get enhanced, because, you know, that's just going to give a strong reason to a lot of consumers of why they would want to go back and replay these older games.
It's funny you should bring up backwards compatibility because most people that have been following me or have been subscribed for a while, I'm not a really kind of a draw a line in the sand, dare you to cross. I'd rather give you a hug and give you a handshake. That's just me as a man. It's just me as my personality since I've been alive. Right. I'm more of a happy-go-lucky kind of a gamer, but what I find to be almost hilarious to the point of just silliness is how some people in this community find it insulting to want to go play old games, and how and again this just goes back to Microsoft being forward thinking. This is Microsoft thinking about their consumers, putting your collection first. Now, the one thing that we've always talked about on this show is our ridiculous backlog. You have a backlog that's probably as tall as you, potentially 2 times as tall as you.
Oh, it's at least 5 times the size of Texas.
Well, there you go. And Texas is a pretty big state, so that's really saying something. And when you think about, any game in that collection, if you didn't get a chance to play it, and for some reason you decide that, you know what, I have a taste or a flavor to want to play said game in my backlog,
sure,
and I'm going to play it on my Series X because I know that console through software is going to make it a better experience in every way.
Yeah.
If it's 30, it's going to run at 60. If it's 60, it potentially could run at 120. It's some games, and we've seen this in something like Fusion Frenzy on the OG Xbox, have ray tracing. Ray tracing wasn't even a thing back in 2000.
Yeah. I mean, and that's an excellent point that you just make right there. Like, maybe the textures won't even be increased, right? But loading screens will be faster.
Yes.
Maybe you'll get more frames. Whatever it may be, it's going to be a better experience playing it on the Series X versus what you're playing it now. But more than that is just the fact that you actually can play it, right? There's tons of games in my backlog that I haven't played that one day I will. I keep saying that, but I really mean it. One day I will play all of these games in my backlog, and it's great that whenever I go and buy my new Xbox, I don't have to worry about all these games that, is on the old hardware. I know that they will play.
Yes. And and that's the thing. See, the only people in this community, and I'm not saying that everyone's a toxic troll. Let's get that squared away right now. Just because you don't like backwards compatibility doesn't make you a troll. It doesn't make you anything. You don't like it. Hey, listen, I'm okay with it. But there are people that live for it. And you know something? There's nothing wrong with that. People being able to play the games that they bought when they want to play those games is something that Sony doesn't care about. Sony wants to sell you the PlayStation 5. They want you to buy the digital edition of the PlayStation 5 so they get more money on every game that you buy, and you can't sell those games secondhand. So when you get done with God of War 3 or God of War 2 or The Last of Us 19 and you buy it on disc, they get a lesser cut of that, and you can go and sell it to GameStop or your best friend or whatever, right? Whereas Microsoft is saying, well, listen, play wherever you want to play. You don't need a new console because we're going to be supporting this for the next couple of years. And oh, by the way, all of your old games, they work. Xbox 360 and Xbox Ones, don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay anything. And I think the only people actually complaining about backwards compatibility, I mean, like really beating the drum, actually, and we've seen this where they actually, and I can't believe that I'm even going to say this as a term, old game shame people. Like, how dare you play that old game? You are not a gamer. Shame on you. The only people actually saying that is because they only support one brand, and that would be Sony. And Sony, as we know, is going to support somewhat of backwards compatibility, where they're saying they'll get thousands of titles, but like Dealer has said numerous times, and I have to quote Dealer in saying this, good friend of the show, by the way, if Sony intended to get all of their entire PlayStation 4 library to be backwards compatible, they would have to have 50 plus games. I think he said a month. I don't think he said a week. I think it's 50 games a month, and they're just not going to do that. You would be lucky if Sony is able to get 3 to 5 games per month. So they're full of shit. Pardon my French. That they're going to get it done. You're going to see the bare minimum from Sony when it comes to backwards compatibility. And that's the reality. And if they can sell you an HD version of an old game, they're going to sell it. And I'm going to be honest with you. If they gave me an opportunity to, let's say, rebuy Spider-Man, and I got the full-on no-load screens and full-on power of the PlayStation 5, I'll admit it, I would probably buy it, and I would be a part of the problem. But,
I'd buy it for sure because I haven't. Well, but I think there's a difference with me though, because I haven't actually.
Well, you haven't played those games.
Yeah.
So. You see, me, I'm trying to be greedy and try to hit it for both. I would it'd be my fifth or sixth platinum, but it'd be Spider-Man times 2 because I would play through Spider-Man in an up-resed, graphical intent 60 FPS. But that's the thing. We don't know if Sony's going to be offering 60 FPS on their games. From what we understand, it's probably going to be 30, and that kind of sucks. But that's a topic for another day. Now, what I want to do is I want to move on. Now, folks, I just want to say this. I'm a bad host today. It's because I had a lot of stuff going on. This show almost did not happen. Obviously, my wife's sister end up in the hospital. Thankfully, she's good. It was just a scare, nothing to be concerned about. She's home, and we're all good. But I didn't take any of the show notes. I mean, the timestamps. I'm completely off kilter with doing it. I started it, I stopped it, I missed 2. So we're just gonna. If you do listen to this show, I'm gonna put into the show notes what we discussed. There's just not going to be any timestamps, but I do want to talk about a topic that came up late last night on Primetime Gaming, where we had the return of our good friend Clowns, and we also had the leader of the Iron Lords. You know him as Iron. You know him as Iron. You know him as Cognito, Lord Cognito from the Iron Lords podcast. He was on. We had a great time last night. But the head of Xbox Live, Dan McCulloch, has left Microsoft after 15 years. And this story was brought to us by Windows Central. It was written by Asher Madan, who he's a good journalist. Him right along with, of course, Jez Corden. And Dan actually put out a tweet yesterday, late last night, and he says this: after 15 years at Xbox, I announced today that I would be leaving. I've made so many friends, learned so much, and truly had a blast. I'm extremely excited about the next opportunity in my career, and I will be announcing that very soon. You will all be pumped. Thank you. So, of course, right away, I immediately think he's going to Sony, because Sony needs as much help as they can get. But you know who needs more help than them? Nintendo. So I'm not sure if he's going to end up either there.
Well, there's Google Stadia. They need a lot of help too. Boom.
There is Google. You know what, dude?
They need a lot of help too, man.
They actually need a lot of help. So that they could have enticed him with a lot of zeros. Cognito also mentioned that Mike Ybarra is always shopping for ex-Microsoft employees over there at Blizzard.
I thought maybe he's going to Blizzard.
Yeah, maybe. But listen, last night I want to get to the again, we're at 300 people watching, which is amazing, and I really want to get the pulse of the community and see what they think. But also, I'm interested to see what you think about this. Now, Cognito had some interesting theories, and I want to make sure that if it's not Cognito, it's definitely somebody on Primetime. I don't remember specifically. If anyone in the chat remembers who actually said it, just drop it into the of course the chat, and I will give them full credit. But someone brought up that one of the Megaton announcements at this July event, or potentially at the past June event, now as we know been moved to August, and we're going to talk about that on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast, the official one, where we're going to have everyone on the panel back and talking Xbox. That Xbox Live is going free to play, meaning that you will not have to pay for Xbox Live or have to pay to play your games online. And is it a ballsy move? Oh my God, yes. Is it something that Microsoft can potentially afford to do? Oh yes, they can, because in its place of Xbox Live that has been making money over hand over fist for them, and it's a service that makes money, they could logistically offer that for free and charge you the $15 per month that of course would be for Xbox Game Pass, which has over 200 games. It's ever changing, it's ever growing. All first party games, all first party launch games in their day and date of the console launch, and of course added to the back end of it, Project X Cloud, giving you the ability to play your games on any mobile device. So when you think about it, Sammy, when you say to yourself, when you put pen to paper, and you say, wait a second, Microsoft is currently giving the farm away for $15 a month, right? If you have Xbox Ultimate Game Pass, right, you are paying $15 a month. And what are you paying? What do you currently get? You get Xbox Live, which is the most secure and best way to play your games online. End of story, no questions asked. You're getting, of course, Xbox Game Pass, and now you're going to be getting Project X Cloud.
You also get Xbox Game Pass for PC.
You actually,
I love Game Pass for PC.
And there you go. So technically, you're getting 4 tasty treats for $15, and now they could turn around and give one of those tasty treats away, like a Santa Claus giving away little candy canes when you come to sit on his lap. So when you think about this, is there potential for the Megaton announcement at either the July event or at the hardware and services event that has been postponed and rescheduled for August? Would you consider that a megaton? Would you say that that would be internet breaking to know that, yes, you can play Xbox with your friends for free if you choose to? What are your thoughts on Xbox Live?
Let me say this. If that was announced, yes, that would be huge. And from my personal experience from reading the comments on my YouTube channel, the children of the Xbox community would be overjoyed. Like,
yes, of course.
They really would be. Like, it would be like Christmas Day for them. But to looking at it at more of like a business strategic approach, I think it would make a lot of sense, right? For instance, there are still a lot of people on the platform who don't have Xbox Live, right? They just don't want to pay for it, whatever it may be. They can't afford it. They don't want it. They've just never tried it, or whatever it may be, right? You make Xbox Live for free, it's going to give everyone the access to go into party chats. It's going to give everyone the access to just basically play online. And if you play online, you're going to make friends. And if you make friends, you're going to buy the games that they buy, and you're going to play more, which means you're going to spend more money, which means Xbox makes more money, right?
Yeah.
So I think from like a business, point of view, that makes a lot of, a lot of sense to me, right? Now I will say this, like, if they did cut Xbox Live, I would say that there's still a tremendous amount of people that are only subscribed to Xbox Live. And, if you made it for free, maybe chances are a lot of them would probably subscribe to Game Pass. But chances are maybe a lot of them might not, right? Maybe they still don't see the value in it. I don't know why they wouldn't, but maybe they don't, right? So you're also looking at possibly losing a lot of money as well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. That's actually a great point, that you could potentially, and I like, I like the way you broke it down, to be honest with you, because when you really break it down, and again, folks, we're not businessmen, right? We're just two guys behind a microphone talking to you guys and gals, and we're just enjoying the company and of course the conversation at hand, which of course we're talking about Xbox, and it's a great time to talk about Xbox, but we don't have to be, corporate shills. We don't have to be rocket scientists, and we don't need to be mathematicians to know that if you give people a little something, they will give you a lot back. And what comes back with you giving something to your fan base? It's called loyalty. It's called people want to play on your console, on your platform, because you gave them something that maybe someone else isn't going to give them. And if you look, I mean, think the strategy behind this is just pure madness in the best possible way. Right now, and let me break this down in a much broader terms. And again, this is I'm not shitting on Sony, folks. I'm buying a PlayStation 5, and I'm buying the disc version, by the way. I'm not getting the digital one because no. I want the ability that if I want to play on a disc, I have it. If I want to play it on digital, I bought it. That's good. That's fine. I'm not going to shoehorn or paint myself into a corner with a digital edition. It's just not my bag. I'm too old school for that. But let's just let's take the pen to paper here and look at what one has and the other one doesn't. Right? Sony is subpar in power. End of story, right? I don't have to say it again, but I'll say it one more time. Sony's PlayStation 5, inferior in power to the Xbox Series X. If it pisses you off, unsubscribe. What can I tell you? That's the facts, Jack, right? Tough titty, right? Backwards compatibility, important to Microsoft, not important to Sony's PlayStation 5 and the future of that brand, because they want to sell you HD remasters. End of story. That's a fact. They've done it before. They're going to do it again, folks. Okay. Best place to play for your dollar, Xbox you're going to get more bang for your buck. And what does that mean? Well, obviously, you're going to pay. We have an understanding, a potential, again, a rumor, a theory that Microsoft has made tremendous cuts in from Mixer, all of their Microsoft stores, some internal stuff that I know that I'm not willing to talk about, that I know that they're cutting, that they probably won't make public, because obviously they're not making money on some things. What are they doing, Zemi? Why are they doing all of these cuts? What are they clearing up?
That is the big question. That is the big question. Like, why would this company cut Mixer and then close all Microsoft stores around the world besides 4 locations? Why would they do that?
Well, you know what? I'm not a mathematician. In fact, I would consider myself sometimes more times than not to be a boob. But I am going to say that I think that this is to offer you, me, and this outstanding community a $400 Series X and a $200 Series S. And I've actually had people write pretty nasty things to me in the YouTube chats, which of course I deleted, because you know what? There's no reason to keep insults in there. It's calling me to be a lunatic. So how you're insane if you think Microsoft is going to offer a next gen console for $200. But the question is, Zemi, what if they do?
They're restructuring and freeing up money for something.
They absolutely are. Now, to that point, there are one of two ways we could look at this, and both is a win for everyone. They could be clearing up money to, of course, sell us a $400 Xbox Series X and a $200 Series S, right? That's what we want to happen. But what if they're sewing up all this cash to drop $4 billion on WB? That's something else that could be brought into the conversation, because if they're, what would you want? Me personally, I don't mind spending $500 on the Series X, and I'm going to buy a Series S for the room. I'm buying both on launch day. That's what I'm going to do. So if you're going to tell me I have to spend $300 and $500, you got me for $800, Microsoft, not a problem. But I would rather see them get WB and get Rocksteady and NetherRealm as first-party studios, because they want to make Game Pass the greatest thing since sliced bread, which I already believe it is. But if you add those two companies, you add an exclusive Batman in the same lines where Batman isn't coming to you PlayStation fans. You're going to have to buy an Xbox or play it on PC, but you're not playing it on your Sony machine. That's what I think. That's the kick in the teeth I think Microsoft has to do, because they have Spider-Man, and I will play Spider-Man. I will play Miles Morales. I will play Spider-Man 2 when it comes out in holiday of 2022, 2023. And I know that I need a PlayStation to do that. It would be great to know that you need an Xbox or a capable PC to play the next
or a
Batman
phone
game.
or a phone.
Yeah, or wherever you want to play Batman. But to know that it's exclusive to the Microsoft brand would be big. To know that, and again, if I'm Microsoft, I put Mortal Kombat on everything, the same way they have Minecraft. I keep that money coming in because everyone's going to buy Mortal Kombat 12, right? Everyone's going to buy it. But the Series X version could have full gore, right? It could have we could see a Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat, and I keep bringing it up because Ed Boon himself talked about that. He actually said that he would drop everything he was doing as a developer to make that game. So if Microsoft owned them and he pitched them, hey, listen, we can make the greatest fighter since sliced bread, you take it and run. So now the list is starting to get long, right? We're talking about all these things that Microsoft is doing that Sony isn't. Well, we didn't even talk about backwards compatibility. We didn't even talk about Project X Cloud. We didn't talk about Xbox Game Pass. These are things that Sony just doesn't have. And this is why Microsoft keeps pushing the envelope and basically daring them to cross the line. It's why Sony hasn't talked about any of these things.
Well, just to kind of touch on that statement, daring them to cross the line. Imagine if they did. I'm backpedaling a little bit back to Xbox Live Gold for free. Imagine if they did do that. That's going to put pressure on Sony because they have PS Plus, right, and so. I don't know. I mean, it just kind of puts a little bit more pressure on them, for a PlayStation, I don't actually think for PlayStation, you need to have PlayStation Plus to play online, but it just kind of,
you do.
Do you now?
You absolutely have to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cause so there you go. It puts pressure on them. That's an extra, $10 that you're gonna have to pay every single month or, it's probably cheaper like Xbox is. You can probably get a year for like $60 or whatever. But that would just put more pressure on Sony for disadvantages.
It absolutely would, and it would be a mic drop moment. Again, remember, this is Microsoft is calling this event in July, the night of mic drops. That's what's being deemed. Do I believe it's going to happen? You bet your ass I do. Do I believe that Xbox Live could be free? I think that if you thought the roaring cheer and the positive articles and podcasts that followed the announcement of backwards compatibility, this would trump it 10 times over. You would have the industry would be, and I said this on Twitter. I said this last night, and again, I'm gonna harken back to my favorite movie, Big Trouble in Little China. Microsoft would have shaken the pillars of heaven if they come out and Phil Spencer says, as of today, Xbox Live is free. You no longer have to pay to play with your friends. Mic drop, walk off the stage, because you got to remember, if you remember, Zemi, and I think everyone in the chat will remember this, a lot of people have been, I guess, pushing Microsoft.
They have.
With the free to play games not being able to be played for free unless you have Xbox Live, right? That's the one thing that Sony has over Microsoft, right? You don't need to be a PlayStation Plus member to play free to play games. And people have been pushing Microsoft into that corner for quite some time. I think the reason why they never addressed it and answered the questions regarding it is because they eventually knew that Xbox Live was going to be free. And this gentleman that's leaving his post, I'm not saying that that's what it's about. I'm not saying that because Xbox Live is free, this guy is losing his job. He's going to a bigger, better, and broader horizons. Again, we don't know if that's Stadia. We don't know if that's going to be Sony. It's going to be Nintendo. For all we know, it could be going work again. Mike Ybarra. We don't know where he's going. He's going to announce it, and we'll all be happy for him. Yeah. But wherever he's going to go, it's going to be a new challenge for him. But could you just imagine, folks? Microsoft or Phil Spencer getting up there and saying that would be words that would be heard across the entire globe and would make headlines for months. And like you said, it would put a ridiculous amount of pressure on Sony if they already don't have a world amount of pressure on them with price and power and backwards compatibility and consumer friendliness and Xbox Game Pass and Xbox, All Access and Project X Cloud. I mean, the deck is stacked for Microsoft to take over this generation. And if you don't agree, I hear you. But I have to say that if you have a better, compelling argument, if you feel that Sony, that's your brand, and you want to bring a counter argument, hit me up in the DM and we will have that live on the air. I double dog dare you. Live on the air. But listen, let me get to some of these super chats and then we're going to get on out of here as we get close to 350 people here on this special bonus episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Sin Vendetta, a very good friend of the show. In fact, he's a very generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I'd buy Bloodborne again for 4K 60 and another platinum trophy. And yes, that is his bag, so to speak. And you know what, dude? I would probably be right there with you, even though I would never get the trophy in, of course, the platinum trophy in Bloodborne. I'd be lucky to get a trophy in Bloodborne, but I would still buy it because you know what? I'm the problem. I'd be the first one to admit it. And Aaron JF94, Aaron, thank you for being here, my brother. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Xbox Lockhart, same CPU performance as Series X, held back by PS5. I got news for you. I think that we're going to be very surprised in the power of this little thing. I mean, I don't know what it looks like. I hope it looks like the GameCube thing. The white box, it's half the size. It would be ideal from a marketing perspective because, you're going to have the Tower of Power being the, of course, black Xbox Series X, and the white smaller one would be the one that would be for the grandmas, right? Would be the $200 box potentially, and it would be good because you'd be able to tell the difference easily. Like for instance, with Sony's consoles, we know what the digital one is. It's a little thinner as opposed to the pregnant looking PlayStation 5. But the average Joe may not understand that, right? They may not understand it. I'm going to be honest with you. To the eye, I think that the digital version looks much better. But I would not pigeonhole myself. I'm getting the one with the disc because I'm old like that. What can I say? But you know what, folks? Listen, we're closing in on a 90-minute show, and I want to thank again the over 300 and close to 350 people that showed up. Of course, I want to say a big thank you to our moderators, Lethal Papa, the sheriff in there, keeping these streets safe. We also have the indie gamer, as well as our recovering friend, recovering from a stroke, UK Dazarus, still here, keeping these streets safe for you while recovering from a very serious stroke. And obviously, he's making good strides because he's playing games. More importantly, he's playing driving games, and that's his bag. And of course, I want to thank the super chats. They continue to come in, and I expect nothing, but I am always blown away by the generosity of this incredible community. So I want to say a big thank you. And of course, I want to say thank you to the actual chat. I mean, again, I don't read every message. I'm sorry that I don't, because I'm doing a lot as the host, but I do know that you're here. And if I didn't get to you and say hello personally, I like doing that. You understand that you being here is means a lot to me as a host. And of course, I couldn't do today's show without having someone that has obviously been here for well over a year and brings his A game each and every time he's on the Xbox Factor podcast, and that is Zemi Games. Now, Zemi, obviously, you have an amazing channel. You are very sociable, and you've gotten way better on Twitter, so I'm proud of you. But you're also a chef in the making, where you haven't posted as much food as you've done in recent weeks. But we want to see you get back to being the chef we know that you are. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, get a recipe or two, and check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Oh, absolutely, Boom. And thank you so much for, allowing me to come on this show every single week. I love talking about Xbox. I mean, Xbox is just amazing. And today's show is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it really was. I mean, we really did shoot from the hip. We did, and we got a little out of hand towards the end, but in all fairness, I mean, Microsoft, they got rid of Mixer and they're closing down all these stores. And you said that you know another thing that's going on in the background. I mean, this is a lot of restructuring that would really kind of indicate that they're planning something big. I mean, we don't know, a lot of speculation, but we don't know. But it really looks like that. But anyway, I mean, absolutely amazing show as always. Boom. If you guys enjoyed my opinions, definitely go check out my YouTube channel. It's called Zimmy Games. I do a bunch of gaming content there, gaming news, reviews, tutorials, unboxings, let's plays, just the whole lot. So definitely go check out my YouTube channel there. It's once again Zimmy Games. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games as well. My DMs are always open. So once again, if you heard something on today's show that I said that you liked, maybe you didn't like it, always feel free to send me a DM. I always love interacting with community members and having those conversations, having that back and forth, figuring out why you feel the way that you feel and I feel the way that I feel. And I just absolutely love that. So definitely feel free to send me a DM on Twitter. And then, of course, I do post quite a few food pics. I haven't done that here recently. I need to start cooking something, right? And in addition to that, I also post just regular stuff. Like if I see something interesting gaming related, or if I see some story, I'll usually retweet it and post it or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Boom. And thanks everyone that was watching today.
Well, a big shout out once again to you, and obviously the Welsh Gamer. Hopefully, he's checking out this show, and again, he'll be making his surprise return, hopefully sooner than later. And and obviously, if you enjoyed today's show and you're not subscribed to Double Barrel Gaming, this is the kind of fun that you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of fun. You're going to get a lot of opinions. And again, this is what I think content creation is all about, is involving the community on a personal level, talking to you guys and gals, having fun, and at the same time enjoying talking about gaming, because at the end of the day, that is why we do these shows. And obviously this Thursday, the show has not been written yet. I have currently all of my topics pulled. I just haven't written them out. I'm going to do that very late tonight and get that out to, of course, Zemi Games, Insipid Ghost, and of course Boxer Bear. Now obviously you see Mr. Badbit is going to be absent from this Thursday show because he's recovering from surgery, and we want to wish him a speedy recovery. And reach out on Twitter and give Mr. Badbit your best wishes. He's a good dude. He's a PlayStation guy who represents the brand in a proper manner, and he will be back the following Thursday to talk about Xbox, as well as, of course, anything else that may come across our desk. But you know what, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, be smart. And I'm going to close out the show with something that my dad taught me. It might be nerdy to you, but it made me a better human being, but more importantly, a better man. And my dad used to tell us all the time, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you on this Thursday's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. Take care, everyone.